Introduction to the story of Mary, Maryam. The importance of Mary, Maryam, in Islam. Mary in the Islamic context, Maryam, is a central figure in Islam, highly revered and considered one of the purest and most devout women to have ever lived. She is mentioned in the Quran as a model of faith and obedience to Allah. The Quran and Mary. Mary's story is depicted in several chapters of the Quran, especially in Surah Maryam, chapter 19, which is named in her honor. She is described as a woman of unparalleled virtue, and Allah chose and purified her, granting her a high status among the women of humanity. The purity of Mary, Maryam. In Islam, Mary is seen as an example of purity and devotion. She is a model of faith, patience, and resilience in the face of hardships. Her life demonstrates how devotion to Allah can overcome even the most difficult challenges, particularly those related to disbelief and social judgment. Maryam, represents dignity and moral strength, being a woman who, despite adversity, never stopped trusting in Allah's divine plans. Mary's status as the mother of Jesus, Isa. Mary is especially revered for being the mother of Jesus, Isa, one of Islam's greatest prophets. The story of her miraculous conception and Jesus' birth is one of the greatest testimonies to Allah's power and mercy. Mary is, therefore, not only an example of a virtuous woman, but also a mother fulfilling a divine mission. Allah's choice of Mary as the mother of one of the greatest prophets. The divine choice. The story begins with Allah's selection of Mary, Maryam, to be the mother of Jesus, Isa, one of the greatest and most beloved prophets in Islam. In His infinite wisdom, Allah chose Mary because of her purity and devotion. The concept of predestination in Islam. It is important to emphasize that in Islam, divine choices are never accidental. Every person has a specific mission within Allah's plan. Mary was chosen to give birth to Jesus, Isa, not just as a personal favor, but as part of the divine plan to guide humanity to the truth. This reflects the notion that nothing happens without Allah's will, and that the lives of the prophets have a divine purpose, greater than what is visible to humanity. Mary's relationship with Allah. Mary is an example of complete submission to Allah's will, without question. Her life and mission began with total dedication to Allah, and her obedience is one of her greatest attributes. Fundamental Islamic concepts, the oneness and sovereignty of Allah. In the introduction, it is also important to address Islam's central concept, which is the oneness of Allah, Tawheed. Mary and Jesus, Isa, are figures of complete submission to Allah's will, reflecting the Islamic truth that all prophets, without exception, are sent by Allah to guide humanity. The story of Mary reinforces the understanding that true devotion is attributed to no one other than Allah. The expectation of the coming of a great prophet. The birth of Jesus, Isa, as a great promise. In the historical context of Mary's time, the community was awaiting the arrival of a great leader and messenger. The birth of Jesus through Mary was the fulfillment of Allah's promise, bringing hope not only to Mary's community, but to all of humanity. The mission of Jesus in Islam. While Maryam's story is remarkable on its own, it also marks the beginning of Jesus' Isa mission as one of Islam's principal prophets. He was sent by Allah to guide the children of Israel, bring the truth, and deliver messages of peace, love, and obedience to God. In Islam, Jesus, Isa, is a sign of Allah's mercy and compassion for humanity, and Mary's story serves as an introduction to this great role that Jesus played. Historical and cultural context. Mary's context in the time of Jesus. To understand Mary's importance in Islam, it is also useful to provide a brief historical and cultural background of the era. At that time, women did not have the same level of respect or visibility as men, yet Mary was chosen for a central role in humanity's history. This highlights the importance of women in Islam and how they can be spiritual and moral leaders, just like men. Humanity's search for a leader. While Mary was a prominent figure, the community of that time was also awaiting the appearance of a great leader. The coming of Jesus, Isa, fulfill this promise of divine guidance.
The miracle of the conception of Jesus, Isa, Angel Gabriel, Jibrail, announces to Mary. The encounter with Angel Gabriel, Jibrail. The story of Mary, Maryam, begins with a divine and miraculous moment. Angel Gabriel, Jibrail, sent by Allah, appears before Mary and delivers an astonishing and sacred announcement. In the Quran, in verse 19 of Surah Maryam, we read that Gabriel says, "She said, 'How can I have a son when no man has touched me, nor have I been unchaste?' He said, 'So it will be. Your Lord has said, this is easy for me, and we will make him a sign for the people and a mercy from us, and it is a matter already decreed.'" The divine message of a miraculous conception. Angel Gabriel reveals to Mary that she has been chosen by Allah to conceive a child without the intervention of a man. This is one of the greatest miracles in the history of Islam and reflects Allah's absolute power over all things. Mary, who was a pure and devout woman, would receive the birth of Jesus, Isa, as a sign of divine power. Mary's Maryam, reaction to the announcement of the miracle. Surprise and questioning. When Angel Gabriel makes the announcement, Maryam, is surprised and asks a valid question. Given her purity and virginity, how can I have a son when no man has touched me? Like any human being, she tries to understand the logic behind this miracle. This shows that, despite being a woman of faith, Mary is not exempt from natural doubts. Her reaction reinforces her humanity, while also demonstrating her trust in Allah to fulfill His will, regardless of circumstances. Total trust in Allah. After the angel's announcement and explanation, Mary accepts Allah's word with complete submission and faith. Her response demonstrates her absolute trust in the divine plan, making her a perfect example of devotion. In other words, she says, "Let it be as your will." She understands that since Allah is the creator of all things, He has the power to make the impossible happen. The miracle of the birth of Jesus, Isa. The conception of Jesus, Isa. Although the Quran does not provide extensive details about the conception itself, we know that after the encounter with Angel Gabriel, Mary miraculously conceives Jesus. This conception without human intervention is one of Islam's greatest miracles, revealing Allah's absolute power over all natural and physical laws. Jesus, Isa, is therefore living proof that Allah can make the impossible happen, defying even human logic and physical limitations. The purity and divine choice. The fact that Allah chose Mary to be the mother of a prophet without the need for a physical relationship with a man reflects Mary's purity and her total submission to the divine will. For Allah, there are no limitations, and this also reaffirms the Islamic concept that all miracles are possible by Allah's will, no matter how incomprehensible or beyond human reason they may seem. The confirmation of the miracle in the Quran. The description of the miraculous conception in the Quran. The Quran clearly describes Jesus' conception as a divine act and not of human origin. Allah states in several passages, such as in verse 3 of Surah Al-Imran, "She said, 'O my Lord, how can I have a son when no man has touched me?' He said, 'So it will be. Allah creates what He wills. When He decrees a matter, He only says to it, 'Be,' and it is." The importance of the miracle in the context of Islam. In Islam, the miraculous birth of Jesus is an example of Allah's absolute power and His ability to control all things. The way Mary conceives Jesus without the intervention of a man is seen as clear evidence that Allah is the creator and sustainer of all things, and that He has authority over all natural laws. This miracle is not only a sign for Mary, but also for humanity, as it demonstrates that divine will transcends human understanding. The spiritual significance of the miracle. Faith and patience in the face of adversity. The miracle of Jesus' conception is also a symbol of Mary's patience and unwavering faith. She does not question the nature of the miracle, but fully trusts in Allah. This serves as an example of absolute devotion that Muslims should have when following the divine plan in their own lives. Mary's story teaches us that even in seemingly impossible situations, faith in Allah can guide and strengthen us. The power of obedience to Allah. Mary's unquestioning obedience in accepting the miracle highlights Islam's central principle: submission to divine will. This is a lesson for all Muslims, as Islam literally means submission to Allah. By accepting the miracle without resistance, Mary not only fulfills her role as the mother of Jesus, but also serves as a model of unshakable faith for all believers. The miracle of Jesus, Isa, as a sign of mercy. Jesus, Isa, as a sign of divine mercy. The miraculous birth of Jesus through Mary is an expression of Allah's mercy toward humanity. Jesus is not only the birth of Jesus, Isa, a divine miracle, the birth of Jesus in a place of purity. The birthplace. In the Quran, verse 23 of Surah Maryam mentions that when Mary, Maryam, was about to give birth, Allah guided her to withdraw to an isolated place where she could safely and privately deliver her child. The description of the scene highlights divine care and how Allah chose a pure place for the birth of Jesus, Isa, away from prying eyes and in an environment suitable for the miracle. Then the pains of labor drove her to the trunk of a palm tree, and she said, "Oh, I wish I had died before this and was in oblivion forgotten." Quran 19:23. Mary's pain and suffering. The Quran describes Mary's pain and suffering during childbirth, showing her humanity. Despite being the mother of a great prophet, she endured hardships like any other woman. This emphasizes that prophets and sacred figures in Islam, though chosen by Allah, still face adversities and human challenges. This part of the story helps Muslims relate to Mary, as she went through struggles similar to those faced by any human being. Divine intervention at a critical moment. Allah's comfort and intervention. During childbirth, Mary found herself in a moment of great distress and despair. In her pain, she expressed the wish that she had never lived to experience such suffering. But Allah, in His infinite mercy, sent comfort to Mary. An angel, representing divine guidance, appeared and offered her assistance, telling her that by shaking the trunk of the palm tree, she would find sustenance. And he called her from below, saying, "Do not grieve. Your Lord has provided a stream beneath you, and shake the trunk of the palm tree towards you. It will drop fresh, ripe dates upon you." Quran 19:24-25. The symbolic importance of the palm tree. The palm tree trunk that Mary is instructed to shake is a powerful symbol of divine support and sustenance in times of great affliction. The palm tree represents life and provision in the desert, and Allah uses it to provide Mary with what she needs to overcome her difficulty. The fresh dates serve as nourishment and comfort, reinforcing the idea that even in the most challenging moments, Allah offers support and mercy. The water source as a miracle. In addition to the dates, the reference to the stream flowing beneath Mary symbolizes an additional miracle. This act of Allah indicates His immediate provision and ability to transform even the most challenging circumstances into moments of blessing. In a moment of suffering, Mary receives Allah's help in visible and tangible ways. This divine intervention serves as a sign that Allah takes care of all His servants, especially during extreme difficulties. The miracle of Jesus, Isa. Speaking as an infant. The birth of Jesus, Isa, and his first miraculous words. After giving birth, Mary was instructed to stay away from her people for a time, as she knew they would question her about the situation. However, Allah reassured Mary that she should not worry and gave her divine guidance. When questioned, she should simply point to the newborn. The miracle occurred when Jesus, Isa, still a baby, miraculously spoke in defense of his mother, a unique aspect of his story. Then she brought the baby to her people, and they said, "O Mary, you have certainly done something unprecedented. O sister of Aaron, your father was not an evil man, nor was your mother unchaste." Then she pointed to him. They said, "How can we speak to one who is in the cradle, a child?" Quran 19:27-29. Jesus, Isa, defense of Mary. When the people of her town began to accuse Mary of wrongdoing, Jesus, Isa, still an infant, miraculously responded to defend her. He spoke clearly and said, "I am indeed the servant of Allah. He has given me the scripture and made me a prophet, and He has blessed me wherever I may be." Quran 19:30-31. This miracle was one of the signs that Jesus, Isa, was a divinely chosen prophet, possessing wisdom and power given by Allah from birth. The spiritual significance of Jesus, Isa, birth, a sign of divine mercy and blessing. For Muslims, the birth of Jesus, Isa, is a great sign of Allah's mercy toward humanity. Jesus, Isa, is seen as an important prophet, sent to guide people to monotheism, teach good conduct, and call for repentance. His birth and miracles serve as evidence of divine kindness and generosity, showing that Allah is always close to His servants, even in times of great trials. The birth of Isa, Jesus, as an event of spiritual renewal. The birth of Isa, Jesus, represents a moment of spiritual renewal and purity. Jesus, Isa, is regarded as a spiritual leader and an example of kindness, wisdom, and obedience to Allah. His birth, along with the miracles surrounding it, teaches Muslims the importance of trusting in Allah, acting with faith, and always seeking the truth in all circumstances. Relevance to the Muslim community.